The gavel cracked like a gunshot through the stale air of the Chicago courtroom, but it was the boy's voice that shattered everything else. "I love him," Alex whispered, his 16-year-old frame trembling under the weight of 1,000 staring eyes, the words spilling out like blood from a fresh wound. The jury leaned forward as one, breaths held, while his father's lawyer, a slick weasel in a pinstripe suit, froze mid-objection, his mouth agape like a fish yanked from Lake Michigan. In that suspended heartbeat, the secret Alex had buried deeper than the winter snows outside erupted into the light, raw and unfiltered, dragging the whole damn room into the storm of his heart. It had started 6 months earlier, back when the world still felt like it might bend in Alex's favor. He was just a kid from the South Side, the kind of place where dreams got ground up in the gears of poverty and prejudice faster than you could say gentrification. Alex Rivera, with his messy mop of chestnut hair and eyes the color of faded denim, had grown up in a cramped two-flat on 63rd Street, sandwiched between a bodega that sold bootleg DVDs and a laundromat that hummed like a perpetual hangover. His mom, Elena, worked double shifts at the hospital, her hands calloused from years of wiping brows and changing beds, while his dad, Marco, chased construction gigs that vanished like smoke whenever the economy coughed. But Alex, he was the dreamer. Sketched comics in the margins of his notebooks, superheroes with capes made of rainbows, villains who looked suspiciously like the priests at St. Mary's who preached fire and brimstone on Sundays. He knew he was different long before he had the words for it. The way his stomach flipped when the cute barista at the corner coffee shop, tall, with ink-black hair and a smile that could melt steel, handed him his latte with a wink. Or how he'd linger in the school locker room, stealing glances at the curve of a teammate's shoulder, heart pounding like a bass drum in a drill track. That's where David came in. David Hale, the new history teacher at Lincoln High, fresh out of Northwestern with a degree in American Studies and a voice that could narrate a Ken Burns documentary. He was 32, built like he spent weekends hiking the Appalachian Trail, broad shoulders, easy stride, and hazel eyes that crinkled when he laughed. David didn't just teach dates and battles. He made the kids feel the pulse of the revolution, the grit of the civil rights marches. To Alex, he was a lighthouse in the fog of adolescence, someone who saw the spark in a quiet kid doodling instead of taking notes. Their first real conversation happened after school, in the empty auditorium where Alex had snuck in to sketch the stage lights. David found him there, charcoal smudges on his fingers, lost in a drawing of two figures embracing against a stormy skyline. "That's got real emotion," David said, sliding into the seat beside him, close enough that Alex caught the faint scent of sandalwood cologne mixed with chalk dust. "Who's the hero?" Alex's cheeks burned. "Just guys being guys. You know, like in those old movies." David chuckled, low and warm. "Nothing just about that. Art's where the truth hides." He didn't push, didn't pry. But from that moment, the door cracked open. Study sessions turned into late-night talks in David's cramped apartment on the north side. Take-out Thai from the spot on Halsted. Debates over whether Whitman was the ultimate queer poet or if that crown went to Baldwin. David shared stories of his own coming out, the way his conservative family in rural Indiana had frozen him out like he was yesterday's news. "It gets better," he'd say, clapping Alex on the shoulder, his touch lingering just a second too long. "But only if you let it." Alex fell hard, the kind of fall that leaves you bruised and begging for more. He told himself it was admiration, mentorship, But when David brushed a lock of hair from his forehead one rainy Tuesday, their eyes locking over a dog-eared copy of Giovanni's Room, Alex knew it was love. Messy, impossible love. David pulled back. Of course, ethical lines drawn in the sand of his lesson plans. You're brilliant, Alex. But this, we can't. Yet the air between them crackled, charged like the storms rolling off Lake Michigan. Then came the unraveling. Marco lost his job again, drowned his sorrows in Jack Daniels, and turned his fists on Elena one too many times. The bruises bloomed like ugly flowers on her arms, and Alex, fueled by a fury he'd only sketched before, called the cops. Custody battle ensued, an ugly circus of affidavits and psych evals. Marco's lawyer painted Alex as a liar, a dramatic teen spinning tales for attention. Your Honor, the lawyer sneered during the preliminary hearing, this boy's fantasies are just that, fantasies. He's unstable. Samuel Whitaker, the judge presiding, wasn't one for bullshit. At 55, with salt and pepper hair cropped military short and a jawline that could cut glass, Samuel had climbed the benches from a public defender in the trenches of Cook County. Divorced twice, father to a daughter he saw on weekends, he carried the weight of the law like a second skin, fair, unflinching, but with eyes that missed nothing. He'd seen it all. Kids chewed up by the system, families torn like wet paper. When Alex took the stand that crisp October morning, Samuel leaned forward, his black robe pooling like ink on the bench. Speak your truth, son. The court is listening. That's when it broke. The question was routine about the night of the assault, Marco's rage-fueled tirade. But Alex, under the glare of fluorescent lights and the whisper of ceiling fans, cracked wide open. It wasn't just the hitting, he choked out, voice echoing off the oak paneling. Dad found out about me, about who I am. He said I was a disgrace, that God hated me for it. And David, Mr. Hale, he tried to help, but Dad twisted it all. Said David was corrupting me. The courtroom hummed with murmurs, a low buzz like distant thunder. Marco's lawyer jumped up, red-faced. Objection. Relevance? This is a custody matter. Not. Sustained. Samuel rapped, but his gaze stayed locked on Alex, sharp as a scalpel. Mr. Rivera, clarify. What exactly did your father find out? Alex's hands shook on the Bible, knuckles white. The words clawed up his throat, years of hiding them in comic panels and locked journals. I'm gay, Your Honor. I've known since I was 12. And David, I love him. Not like a teacher. Like more. The confession hung there, a grenade with the pin pulled. Gasps rippled through the gallery, spectators shifting in their seats, a bailiff's radio crackling faintly. Elena, in the front row, pressed a handkerchief to her mouth, tears carving tracks down her face. Marco, shackled at the defense table, roared like a wounded bull. Lies! That pervert teacher! Order! Samuel's gavel slammed down, the sound a thunderclap. But his face, oh, that face, paled beneath the tan, eyes widening in a flicker of something raw, unguarded. Recognition? No. Deeper. Shock? Yes. But laced with a pain that twisted like a knife. David, seated as a character witness in the back, felt the world tilt. He hadn't known Alex would go there. Not like this. Their moments, the stolen glances, the almost kisses had been shadows, unspoken vows in the dim light of what-ifs. Now, exposed under the court's merciless glare, David rose halfway from his seat, mouth dry as dust. "Alex," he mouthed, but the boy didn't turn, couldn't. Samuel cleared his throat, the sound amplified through the speakers like a confession of his own. "This court appreciates your courage, Mr. Rivera," but his voice cracked, just a hair, enough to send a chill through the room. He glanced at his clerk, then back to Alex, and in that beat, the air thickened with the unspoken. The judge's next move? It would rewrite everything, not just the case, but lives tangled like roots under concrete. As the recess bell tolled, Alex slumped back into the witness chair, the weight of his truth crushing him. He didn't see Samuel's hand tremble on the gavel, or the way David's eyes met the judge's across the chaos, a collision of past and present, secrets upon secrets. Outside, the November wind howled down Dearborn Street, whipping leaves like confetti from a funeral, and Alex wondered if he'd just buried them all alive. The break stretched into an eternity of whispers and sidelong glances. In the holding room, Elena enveloped Alex in a hug that smelled of lavender soap and hospital antiseptic. "Mijo, why didn't you tell me?" she murmured, her accent thickening with emotion. "Because I was scared," he admitted, voice muffled against her shoulder. "Scared you'd look at me different. Like Dad does." She pulled back, cupping his face. "Never. You're my heart, Alex. Always." But even as she said it, doubt flickered, years of Catholic guilt, the neighborhood gossips who crossed themselves at rainbows. Across the hall, David paced like a caged wolf, his lesson plans forgotten in his briefcase. He'd come to testify to Alex's character, to vouch for the kid's resilience amid the family storm. But now, the line he'd towed for months had snapped, and the fallout loomed like a Midwest twister. His phone buzzed, a text from a colleague. "Dude, what the hell just happened?" He ignored it, mind replaying Alex's voice, that fragile "I love him." God, the kid had guts. More than David ever had at that age. Then the door swung open, and there was Samuel Whitaker, robe shed, tie loosened like a noose finally cut. The judge looked every bit the man who'd stared down mob bosses and corrupt aldermen, but up close, weariness etched lines around his eyes. "Mr. Hale," he said, voice low, commanding the tiny space. "A word." David straightened, pulse hammering. They'd crossed paths before, at a teachers' union fundraiser, a quick handshake over cheap Merlot. Samuel had seemed distant then, all polished reserve. Now, something simmered beneath, urgent and unresolved. "Your Honor, Samuel," the judge corrected, shutting the door with a click that echoed like finality. "Off the record." "What the hell is going on between you and that boy?" David's jaw tightened. "Nothing. He's a student. A good kid in a bad spot. I was just..." "Bullshit." Samuel stepped closer, the air between them crackling with authority and something electric, forbidden. "I saw your face. And his. This isn't some adolescent crush. Spill it, David, before I have to drag it out in open court." The truth tumbled then, halting at first, then in a rush, the mentorship, the late nights, the unspoken pull that had David questioning every ethical oath he'd sworn. "I care about him," David finished, voice raw. Too much. But I never crossed the line. I swear. Samuel's expression darkened, a storm cloud rolling in. He turned away, rubbing his temple as if warding off a migraine. You have no idea what you've stepped into. Or who. Before David could press, the bailiff knocked recess over. Samuel straightened, the mask of judicial impartiality snapping back into place. Testify clean, Mr. Hale. For his sake. And with that, he was gone, leaving David adrift in the echo of unspoken histories. Back in session, the tension coiled tighter than a spring. Marco's lawyer, sensing blood, pounced. So, Mr. Rivera, this love for your teacher, did he encourage it? Groom you? Perhaps. Alex's fists clenched. No. David's the only one who ever listened without judging. The lawyer smirked. Listen to what? Your fantasies? Your lies about your father? Objection. Elena's attorney shot up, a fiery Latina named Rosa who fought like she was born in the ring. Sustained, Samuel barked, his gavel a punctuation mark. But his eyes, those eyes, flickered to David, now called to the stand, and for a split second, the room saw it. A crack in the armor, a glimpse of the man beneath the robe. David's testimony was steady, a bulwark against the smears. He spoke of Alex's talent, his quiet strength, the way he'd lit up discussing the fire next time. He's not unstable, David said, meeting Marco's glare without flinching. He's brave. Braver than most adults I know. The jury nodded, some wiping discreet tears. But as David stepped down, Samuel called for sidebar, his voice a whip. Counsel. Approach. Whispers flew. Another delay. But when Samuel returned, his face was thunder. This court is in recess until tomorrow. Mr. Rivera, you're remanded to your mother's custody. Mr. Marco Rivera, bail revoked pending psych eval. The gallery erupted, Marco's curses drowned by the gavel's fury. As deputies led Marco away, Alex caught David's eye, a silent thank you, laced with longing. But it was Samuel's gaze that burned hottest, fixed on the boy with an intensity that bordered on paternal. Or something deeper, shadowed. That night, in the dim glow of Elena's apartment, Alex couldn't sleep. The city hummed outside, sirens wailing like lost souls, the L train rattling past like a mechanical heartbeat. He sketched furiously, the courtroom as a coliseum, himself as gladiator, David as shield-bearer. But in the corner, unbidden, appeared Samuel not as judge, but as a figure from the stands, reaching out. Little did he know, across town in a Lincoln Park brownstone, Samuel poured a scotch, neat, and stared at a faded photo on his mantel. Two young men, arms slung around each other at a pride march in '92. One was David, younger, wild-haired, eyes alight with rebellion. The other, Samuel himself, before the law had carved him into stone. The secret Alex had unleashed wasn't just his own. It was a ghost, rising from the grave of what-ifs, demanding reckoning. Morning broke gray and unforgiving over Chicago, the kind of dawn that seeped through the blinds like regret. Alex woke to the smell of Elena's cafecito brewing, strong and bitter, a ritual that anchored their fractured world. She was at the stove, flipping tortillas with mechanical precision, her eyes red-rimmed from a night of silent tears. Eat, "Me, Joe," she said, sliding a plate his way. "Today's gonna be long." He poked at the food. Stomach knotted tighter than the cables on the Sears Tower. The news had hit the local feeds overnight. Teen comes out in custody battle shock. Blurred photos of his face splashed across WGN. Texts from friends pinged like bullets. "Dude, you okay? That's badass." "Freak." The last one from his ex-bestie, Tommy, stung like salt in a cut. Alex deleted it, but the isolation crept in, cold as the draft from the window. School was out of the question. Rosa had pulled strings for a mental health day. Instead, Alex wandered the apartment, tracing the cracks in the plaster like fault lines in his life. David's number burned in his phone. "We need to talk," but he couldn't hit send. What if it ruined everything? What if it made the love real enough to lose? By 9 a.m., they were back in the Dirksen Federal Building, the courthouse a fortress of marble and metal detectors. Security was tighter today, whispers trailing Alex like smoke. "That's the kid." Heard he named his teacher. Elena gripped his hand as they passed through the magnetometers. Her palms sweaty, reassuring. The gallery was fuller. Vultures circling, reporters with notepads. A few activists from Howard Brown clutching signs folded discreetly. David slipped in late, collar starched but eyes shadowed, nodding at Alex with a ghost of a smile. Samuel was already on the bench, robe impeccable, but his posture rigid, like a man bracing for impact. "Be it known that the matter of Rivera v. Rivera resumes," the clerk intoned, and the room settled into a hush pregnant with anticipation. Rosa opened strong, calling Elena to elaborate on the abuse, the black eyes, the broken wrist last spring, the way Marco's rages escalated after church sermons on family values. Elena's voice trembled but held, her English laced with the lilt of Puerto Rico. "He drinks, Your Honor. And when he drinks, he forgets we're people." Marco's lawyer countered with character witnesses. A cousin swearing Marco was a good provider, a pastor droning about forgiveness. But the air shifted when Rosa recalled Alex for redirect. "Mr. Rivera, yesterday you mentioned your father's reaction to your sexuality. Can you expand?" Alex swallowed, the witness chair a throne of thorns. "He found my sketchbook. Drawings of guys kissing. He called me an abomination. Said he'd send me to conversion camp if I didn't pray it out." The word abomination landed heavy, drawing winces from the jury. "David, Mr. Hale knew because I told him. In confidence. He said it was okay to be me." The lawyer pounced. "And did Mr. Hale reciprocate these feelings? Touch you inappropriately?" "No." Alex's voice cracked like thin ice. "He told me to wait. To grow into it. But Dad." He stalked David's car after parent-teacher night. Left voicemails, threats. "That's why the cops got involved." Murmurs swelled. Samuel's pen scratched furiously on his pad, his face a mask of controlled fury. "Noted. Mr. Hale, return to the stand." David approached with the grace of a man walking a tightrope, swearing in with a steady hand. Rosa led him gently, timelines of mentorship, Alex's academic turnaround, the safe space of their talks. Then the cross-exam, vicious as a street fight. "So, Mr. Hale," the lawyer drawled, "late-night sessions at your apartment. Alone with a minor. Sounds cozy." "Objection, speculative," Rosa fired. "Overruled." Answer the question. David met the gaze head-on. It was tutoring. History papers. College apps. Alex is gifted. I believed in him. And the love confession? Did it surprise you? A beat. David's jaw worked. Alex is honest. Braver than I was. Honored me. But I shut it down. Boundaries matter. The lawyer leaned in, shark-like. Boundaries? Or just waiting for graduation? Enough. Samuel's voice sliced through, low but lethal. Mr. Counsel, badgering the witness will not be tolerated. The room stilled. The lawyer blinked, cowed, and David stepped down. But not before Samuel's eyes locked on his again, that same haunted flicker from yesterday. Recess brought chaos. Reporters swarmed the hall, mics thrust like spears. Alex, how does it feel to come out on the record? Mr. Hale, any comment on the allegations? David shouldered through, grabbing Alex's arm in a grip that seared. Not now. Back room. 5 minutes. In the witness lounge. Door barred. They faced off. Alex's heart thundered. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. Stop. David cupped his face. Thumbs brushing cheeks. The touch igniting fires long banked. You were incredible. But this. It's bigger than us now. Then what are we? Alex whispered, leaning in, lips inches from collision. David's breath hitched. We? God. Alex. You're everything I. He kissed him then, fierce and fleeting, a dam breaking. Salt and sweetness, the world narrowing to that press of mouths, hands fisting shirts. It lasted seconds, eternities until a knock shattered it. Time, the bailiff called. They sprang apart, flushed, alive. We'll figure it, David promised. Ice fierce. I love you too. The words hung as Alex returned to the courtroom, a secret armor. But the afternoon brought the storm's eye. Marco took the stand, shackled but unbowed, spinning tales of a troubled son, led astray by that deviant teacher. My boy was fine till him, Marco growled, jabbing a finger at David. Turned him queer, filled his head with filth. The jury shifted uncomfortably. Rosa objected on relevance, but Samuel allowed it, his expression unreadable. Mr. Rivera, he said quietly, your son testified to threats. Care to address? Marco sneered. Threats? I was protecting my family from sin. The Bible also says love thy neighbor, Samuel interrupted, voice like gravel. And this court deals in facts, not sermons. Marco's face purpled. You gonna let a fag teach my kid? Or judge me? The gallery gasped. Samuel's gavel crashed, but not before his eyes blazed fury. Yes, but laced with a personal wound, deep as the loop's underbelly. Bailiff, remove the witness. Contempt. As Marco was dragged out cursing, Samuel called sidebar again, longer this time. Whispers flew. Mistrial? Recusal? When he returned, his pronouncement landed like a bomb. In light of new testimony, this court orders an immediate investigation into potential witness tampering by the defense. Hearing adjourned until Monday. Protective order granted for Mr. Rivera and his mother. Pandemonium. Reporters surged. Elena hugged Alex sobbing. David slipped out amid the crush. But as the room emptied, Samuel lingered on the bench, watching Alex go. Their eyes met, boy and judge, secrets bridging the chasm, and in that look, Alex saw it. Not judgment, but kinship. A man who'd walked similar fires. That weekend blurred into a haze of safe houses and counseling sessions, courtesy of Lambda Legal. Elena opened up over takeout empanadas, sharing her own hidden pains, a teenage kiss with a girl at summer camp, buried under layers of machismo and migration. We're survivors. Mijo. That's our superpower, David called once, voice hushed from a burner phone. I'm okay. But Samuel. There's history there. Be careful. History, Alex pressed. But the line went dead, traced. Maybe. Sunday night, alone in the borrowed bedroom, Alex dreamed of courts and capes. David and Samuel entwined in shadows, whispering truths. He woke sweating, the city's pulse syncing with his own. Monday dawned sharper, the loop alive with Black Friday frenzy bleeding into courthouse crowds. Security frisked them twice. Rumors swirled of Marco's allies lurking. Inside, the gallery swelled, activists now out in force, rainbow pins glinting like defiant stars. Samuel entered to a hush, his robe a banner. Proceedings resume. Mr. Hale, the court has questions. David ascended, composed but pale. Samuel's voice was steel. You've testified to mentorship. But records show you requested Alex's transfer to your advisory group last year. Why? David hesitated, glancing at Alex. He needed an ally. The school counselor. Not equipped for LGBTQ+ issues. Fair. Samuel nodded, but pressed. And your personal life? Any prior entanglements with students? The question hung, poisoned. David's eyes widened. No. Never. Objection, Rosa thundered. Relevance? Fishing expedition, Samuel overruled, gaze boring into David. The court seeks clarity. For the record, David's voice steadied. My past is private, Your Honor. But I've lived it honestly. No harm to Alex or anyone. Tense beat. Then, shocking the room, Samuel leaned forward. Noted. Step down. But as David passed the bench, Samuel murmured, too low for mics. We need to talk. After, the day dragged, expert witnesses on trauma, psych reports painting Marco as volatile. By close, the tide turned. Rosa moved for full custody to Elena, temporary restraining on Marco. Samuel granted it, but with a twist. Additionally, the court recommends counseling for all parties, including Mr. Hale and the witness, his eyes on Alex, soft for a flicker. Healing starts with truth. As they filed out, David caught Alex in the stairwell, pulling him into shadow. Tonight. My place. Please. Alex nodded, heart soaring. But outside, a figure waited. Samuel, coat collar up against the sleet, watching them go. Not with anger, but longing. A ghost stirring. The sleet turned to snow by evening, fat flakes blanketing the city in a hush that muffled sins and secrets alike. Alex lied to Elena about a study group, slipping out into the whiteout with his hoodie zipped to his chin. The L train rattled him north, past the glittering magnificent mile where holiday lights mocked his turmoil, depositing him at David's door on a street lined with fire escapes dripping icicles. David yanked him inside the moment the bell buzzed. The apartment a warm cocoon of bookshelves and half-burned candles. No words, just arms wrapping tight, mouths crashing in a kiss that tasted of desperation and relief. They stumbled to the couch, shedding coats and inhibitions, hands mapping familiar yet new territories. David's fingers traced the line of Alex's jaw, his collarbone, whispering, "You're safe now." "God, I missed this." "Missed you," Alex breathed, arching into the touch, the world shrinking to skin and size. It wasn't their first time, not fully. Stolen fumbles in summer heat had paved this road, but tonight felt like claiming. Slow, reverent, bodies learning rhythms in the flicker of a single lamp. David was gentle, patient, murmuring praises like litanies. Beautiful. Brave. Alex lost himself in it, the courtroom's echoes fading under waves of pleasure and belonging. After, tangled in sheets that smelled of laundry detergent and home, they talked. Really talked. David confessed the terror of the stand, the way Samuel's questions had unearthed old graves. "We were lovers. Once," he said, tracing circles on Alex's chest. "Summer after college. I was 22. He was 38. Intense. Real. But he chose the bench. I chose teaching. We parted clean, or so I thought." Alex propped on an elbow, brow furrowed. "He still feels something?" David's laugh was bitter. "Samuel doesn't feel anymore. He buries it under rulings and robes. But yesterday, that look, it's unfinished business." Jealousy flickered, sharp as a switchblade, but Alex quashed it. "As long as it's finished with us." David kissed his forehead. "Us? Yeah. That's the dream." They dozed, lulled by the storm's whisper, until David's phone shattered the peace. A blocked number. Insistent. He answered warily. "Hail." Samuel's voice. Clipped. "We need to meet. Now." "The boy, does he know?" David sat up, sheets pooling. "Know what? About us?" "No." A pause. Heavy. "Then get him out. Marco's out on technicality. He's coming for you both." The line died. David cursed, scrambling for clothes. "Alex." Now, panic surged like adrenaline. They dressed in frenzy, peacoats over rumpled shirts, fleeing into the night. The streets were deserted, snowdrifts swallowing footsteps. David's Jeep idled at the curb, engine growling like a beast ready to bolt. But as they pulled out, headlights pierced the flurry, a black SUV, idling ominous. "Go!" Alex yelled, and David floored it, tires spinning on ice. The chase was a blur of red taillights and horn blasts, weaving through Lakeshore Drive's curves where the lake loomed black and endless. Marco's vehicle stolen, probably gained, a battering ram of rage. David's knuckles whitened on the wheel. "Call 911. Alex fumbled the phone, voice shaking as he relayed. "White Jeep, tailed by SUV. Drivers trying to kill us." Sirens wailed distant, but the SUV rammed them, a crunch of metal that sent them fishtailing. Alex screamed, bracing. David swerved onto a side street, narrow and unplowed, the pursuer scraping sparks off brick walls. Then, miracle, a squad car materialized, lights flashing blue-red apocalypse. The SUV veered, smashing into a hydrant in a geyser of ice and water. Marco bailed, slipping on the slick, only to eat pavement under cop boots. David pulled over blocks away, panting. "You okay?" Alex nodded, trembling. "Yeah. Thanks to you." Cops swarmed, statements taken in the cold. Marco arrested for violation, attempted vehicular assault. Elena arrived hysterical, bundling Alex home. David watched from afar, a guardian shadow. But the real shock waited in the morning papers. Judge's past exposed in Rivera case? A blurry photo from '92 Pride. Samuel and David arm in arm, outed by an anonymous tip. The blogosphere ignited. Robed romance? Queer justice in Cook County? Court convened in emergency session. The gallery a powder keg of press and protesters. Samuel entered to jeers and cheers, face carved from granite. "Motions to recuse?" he asked, voice steady. Marco's new lawyer, a shark named Harlan, rose. "Your Honor, conflict of interest. Your relationship with the witness demands it." Samuel's eyes narrowed. "Relationship? Ancient history? Counsel? Irrelevant." "Hardly," Harlan pressed. The boy confessed love for Hale. "Hale, your ex." Bias screams. Murmurs agreed. Rosa countered. "Prejudice. The judge has ruled fairly." "Enough." Samuel banged the gavel, silence falling like snow. "To ensure impartiality, I recuse." Case reassigned to Judge Ellis. The room exploded, flashes popping, shouts of "coward" from activists, finally, from the defense. Alex's stomach dropped. Samuel's eyes met his, apologetic, before he swept out. But recusal wasn't surrender. That afternoon, Samuel appeared at Elena's door, civilian in wool overcoat, bearing takeout from Giordano's. "May I?" he asked, voice soft. Elena, wary but weary, let him in. Alex hovered, confused. Over deep dish, Samuel unfolded. "I'm no longer on your case. But I owe you truths." The story spilled like Chianti on linen. Samuel and David. A whirlwind '92. Born at a GLBTQ rally against sodomy laws. Samuel, closeted prosecutor. David, idealistic intern. Passionate nights in Boys Town basements. Dreams of a life unbowed. But Clinton's election, the bench's call, Samuel chose stability, shoving David into the friend zone eternal. "I broke him," Samuel admitted, eyes glistening. "And myself." Alex listened, piecing the mosaic. "Why tell me?" "Because you're him, 20 years younger. Brave where I wasn't." And David. He sees it too. Jealousy flared again, but softened into empathy. "You loved him." "Love," Samuel corrected. Tense doesn't change that. Elena cleared plates, giving space. Samuel leaned in. "Your dad's poison isn't you, Alex. It's fear. Mine was too. Don't let it win." He left a card, not judicial, but personal. "If you need an ally." That night, David came over, sanctioned now by recusal. They talked till dawn, Samuel's ghost weaving through, not dividing but deepening. "He's family," David said, holding Alex close. Complicated, but real. The case dragged into December. Ellis, a no-nonsense bulldog who shredded Marco's lies. Custody to Elena. Full. Restraining order ironclad. Holidays loomed bittersweet. Alex's first prideless winter. But with David, Tentative plans for New Year's in the loop. Yet betrayal brewed. Harlan, digging for dirt. Unearthed texts. David's to Samuel post-recusal. Miss you. Coffee? For old times. Innocent. Maybe. But leaked to the Trib. Painted David as two-timing. Hail the homewrecker. Alex confronted him over eggnog at Elena's. Voice breaking. Is it true? You and him, still? David paled. Coffee. Talk. Nothing more. I swear. But you want to. The words wounded them both. David cupped his face. Alex. You're mine now. My future. Samuel's echo. Not encore. Tears fell. Prove it. David did. Fierce as the Yule log crackling. Lovemaking by tree lights. Promises etched in sweat. But doubt lingered. The thorn. Christmas Eve. Samuel called. Don't let ghosts steal your joy. David's yours, if you fight for it. Wise words. But fate twisted. New Year's. A package arrived. Marco's gift. A comic Alex drew years back. Defaced with slurs. Razor slashes through the heroes' faces. Note, freak. You'll burn. Fear coiled. David moved in temporarily. Elena's blessing. They fortified, locks changed. Therapy doubled. Samuel testified remotely for the protection order extension. His voice a bomb. This isn't justice failing. It's you rising. Climax brewed in January. A hearing on damages. Harlan ambushed with the texts. Twisting. Mr. Hale pursued the judge while romancing the minor. David roared. Lies. It was closure. Alex. In gallery. Shattered. Betrayal's blade. Not David's. But the system's. Exposing intimacies like wounds. He stormed out. David chasing into the snow. Wait. It's not. You hid it. Alex sobbed. Like I'm some kid you pityfuck. David grabbed him. Slamming against brick. Pity? I love you. You idiot. Texts were goodbye. For us. Proof. Samuel's follow-up. Leaked in court. Let him go. David. He's lightning. You're the storm he needs. Forgiveness came in frozen breaths. A kiss sealing fractures. But the real shock waited. February. Verdict. Marco incarcerated. Assets to Elena. Celebration at David's. Samuel invited. Olive branch. Over wine. Toasts clinked. Samuel raised glass. To truths. Then. Stunning. I'm retiring. Writing a book, Closeted Chambers. Queer Judges in America. Eyes on David. Then Alex. With your stories. If you'll share. David blinked. Us. All of us. Samuel's smile. First real one, vulnerable. Alive. Alex nodded. Heart full. Betrayal mended. Love layered. Human. Messy. American as apple pie with a twist. But wait, the hooks echo. In a quiet epilogue beat, Alex realized. Samuel's book? The dedication. To the boy who freed us all. Spring thawed Chicago slow. Like a hangover lifting. The air thick with the promise of rebirth and the stink of garlic from corner hot dog stands. Alex turned 17 in March. The birthday marked not with cake but with a skyline view from the Hancock Observatory. David and Elena toasting him with hot chocolate spiked with Baileys. To more sketches, David said. Arms slung casual around his shoulders. The city sprawled below like a comic panel waiting to be inked. Life settled into rhythms. School ramped up with AP classes. David coaching debate club, Alex front and center, arguing queer rights with firebrand eloquence. Elena dated a nurse from work. Gentle Javier with his easy laugh and tamales that rivaled hers. Samuel's book loomed. Interviews in his study lined with law tomes and jazz records. Alex spilling guts over Miles Davis vinyls spinning low. But undercurrents pulled. Marco's appeal dragged. Shadows of prison letters smuggled out. Come see me, son. Make it right. Alex burned them, but guilt gnawed. A rat in the walls. David noticed. Nights when Alex woke gasping from dreams of fists and fire. Talk to me, he'd urge, holding tight. One April dusk. After a brutal practice, Alex cracked. They sat on the fire escape, legs dangling over the alley where cats yowled like jilted lovers. What if he's right, that I'm broken? David's hand found his warm anchor. Broken? Nah. Bent? Maybe. Like light through glass. Makes rainbows. Alex leaned in, kissing the curve of his neck. Poet now? History's full of M. David's chuckle rumbled, turning to pull Alex onto his lap. The metal groaning protest. Making out turned heated. Hands wandering under hoodies. Breaths fogging the dusk. Inside, David murmured, nipping earlobe. But Elena's key in the lock froze them. Innocent scramble. Blushes all around. Dinner, she called, oblivious. Samuel's presence wove deeper. Not intruder but uncle figure. Wisecracking over beers at Wrigley Field. Cubs lost. But the loss felt minor next to Samuel's tales. Prosecuting under Daly, hiding lovers in walk-ups, the ache of pride parades watched from squad cars. I envied you too, he admitted once, nursing a dog. That raw edge. I sanded mine down. David's eyes softened. Still there, under the polish, a charged look, old sparks flickering. Alex quashed the pang. Trust built brick by brick. No room for cracks. May brought betrayal's second strike. Sharper than the first. Harlan, desperate for appeal leverage, subpoenaed David's emails, innocent threads to Samuel about book notes. But one, Alex reminds me of you at that age. Fire in the belly. Harlan spun it lurid. Grooming continuum. Judge complicit. Headlines screamed. Teacher-judge love triangle endangers teen. Protests erupted outside the school. Pickets with signs protect our kids. David suspended pending review. Face gaunt in the kitchen light. It's bullshit, he growled, slamming cabinet. But the board's scared. Alex raged, hugging him fierce. Fight it. Samuel lawyered up pro bono, dismantling the narrative in depositions. Slander, he thundered in chambers. My notes were historical context, Baldwin, not bedroom. The board cleared David by June, but scars lingered. Alex's grades slipped, sketches turning dark, heroes chained, villains in robes. Therapy unpacked it. Betrayals echo, fear of loss. You're enough, the counselor said. For him. For you. Summer scorched in, humidity clinging like regret. They escaped to Door County, Wisconsin, cabins by Lake Michigan's green curve, days kayaking, nights under stars. David taught Alex to sail, wind whipping sails like freedom's flag. One twilight, becalmed, they drifted, bodies slick with sweat and spray. I want forever, Alex said, head on David's chest. Heartbeat drum like conga. David's fingers carded hair. Got plans? Northwestern for you. Tenure for me. House in Andersonville. Yard for barbecues. Samuel as the grumpy godfather. Laughter bubbled, but Alex's voice sobered. And if the world says no, then we burn it down. Like Stonewall. Love that night was tidal, crashing and ebbing, sealing vows in salt and sighs. Back in Chicago, Elena's engagement to Javier bloomed. Wedding in fall, Alex best man. But conflict crested in August. Marco's appeal hearing. Ellis denied, but parole board sniffed leniency. Rehabbed, they claimed, ignoring the shank he'd fashioned in county. Samuel warned, stay vigilant. Vigilance shattered one muggy night. Alex walked home from the library, earbuds blasting Hosier, when a van screeched curb. Marco lunged out, gaunt, eyes wild, grabbing Alex's collar. Traitor spawn, terror-locked muscles. Dad, freak, fist connected, ribs cracking like dry twigs. Alex crumpled, world spinning. Marco raised boot, then headlights flooded, brakes squealing. David, en route to pick him up, barreled out, tackling Marco into gravel. Get off him, fists flew, grunts and curses. A neighbor's 911, sirens closing. Marco fled limping, but not before David's nose bloodied, knuckles split. Our lights harsh, stitches and scans. Elena wept, Javier stone-faced. Samuel arrived, suit rumpled, pulling strings for APB. David, bandaged beside the bed. I'm sorry. Should have been there sooner. Alex, morphine-dazed. You saved me. Cops nabbed Marco in Gary by dawn. Extradited. Charges piled. Assault. Violation. Stalking. No parole now. Recovery was hell. Cracked ribs grinding with every breath. Nights fevered with what-ifs. David nursed, reading aloud from Invisible Cities. Voice a lullaby. Samuel visited, bearing Calvinos if on a winter's night a traveler. Ironic. Resilience, he said, squeezing Alex's hand. Your superpower. Elena's wedding anchored them. October blaze of leaves. Alex stood tall in rented tux, toasting, to love that endures. Marco's trial loomed November, the noose tightening. Harlan defended, but evidence mounted, witnesses, forensics from the alley. Climax hit mid-hearing. Alex testified, voice steady despite the sling. He chose hate. I choose me, Marco sneered from the dock. You'll regret it, boy. Then Samuel, called as expert on domestic cycles, unleashed. Regret? The only one drowning in it is you, Mr. Rivera. Years of violence. Excused by family. But blood doesn't bind. Choice does. The jury convicted Swift, 10 years. No parole. Courtroom emptied. Catharsis thick. David hugged Alex tight. Proud. But the shock, the judge's move, echoed in Samuel's final act. Post-trial, he approached the bench mic, unscripted. This case changed me. To the boy who spoke truth, thank you. And to all watching, love isn't the crime. Hiding it is. Gallery applauded, tears flowing. Samuel stepped down, robe shed for good. Outside, under clearing skies, Alex, David, Samuel walked trio unbound. Dinner, Samuel offered. My treat. Over ribs at Lem's. Stories flowed, futures sketched like Alex's comics. David and Alex, college, life. Samuel, book tour. Maybe a boyfriend. About time. Betrayals, ashes, fertilized growth. Human arc. Not perfect, but whole. Yet depth lingered. One night, post-dinner, David confessed to Alex, Samuel kissed me goodbye. After the fight. Said, go live. Hurt flickered, but Alex smiled. He did. For us, love deepened, layered, romantic, fraternal, redemptive. American dream, queer edition, messy, resilient, true. Winter gripped Chicago again, but softer this time, snow falling like forgiveness on the scars of the year. Alex's senior year blurred into a montage of college apps and capstone projects, his portfolio swelling with pieces born of fire. A graphic novel, Court of Shadows, heroes in robes wielding gavels as scepters, villains crumbling under rainbow sieges. David proofed drafts over midnight coffee, his red pen gentle, kisses punctuating revisions. Publish this, he'd urge. The world's ready. Elena and Javier honeymooned in San Juan, leaving the apartment to Alex and David, domestic bliss in takeout containers and tangled laundry. Samuel's book dropped in January, closeted chambers climbing indie lists. Forward by Alex, truth isn't a verdict, it's a revolution. Signings packed, Boys Town barns and noble mobbed. Alex beaming beside him, David's hand a steady anchor on his knee. Marco faded to footnotes, appeals denied, letters unanswered. Elena burned the last one in the sink, ashes swirling like purged ghosts. Free now, she said, toasting with Coquito. But romance's tide ebbs, tests fidelity. February, Northwestern acceptance, full ride, Alex's dream. David drove him to campus tour, pride swelling. Yet over tie in Evanston, doubt surfaced. Long distance? Me slinging lesson plans while you're debating Foucault with hipsters. Alex's fork paused. Scared, terrified, David's honesty raw, vulnerability a gift. You're my compass, kid. Without you, then recalibrate. Alex grinned, foot hooking ankle under table. Will weekend. Or you transfer, teach adjuncts. Laughter eased it, but nights honed the edge. David volunteered more GLSEN chapters, mentoring queer youth. Alex joined, facilitating circles where kids like him spilled fears. One session, a freshman echoed Alex's old terror. What if love's just a phase? Alex shared his story. Unvarnished, the court, the chase of hearts. Phases pass. Love endures. Samuel mentored too, guest speaking on legal rights, his presence a bridge from pain to power. Post-session beers at Big Chub's. The trio debriefed. You remind me why I fought, Samuel said, clinking bottles. Before I forgot, David's eyes warmed. Haven't forgotten. Just evolved. A look lingered. Electric. Alex felt the pull, not threat, but history's hum. Later, in bed, he voiced it. You still love him. A little, David stilled, then sighed. Like a song you can't unhear. But you're the album. Trust rebuilt. Stronger. Spring break. They road-tripped Route 66 neon ghosts in Tulsa. Grand Canyon dawns painting them ochre. In a Flagstaff motel, Under quilt stitched with stars, David proposed not ring, but promise. Marry me? When you're legal, world ready. Alex's yes was a sob, sealed in dawn light. Graduation June. Lincoln High auditorium sweltering. Elena whooping loudest. Samuel pinned the diploma. Whisper. Proud. Son. Summer internships. Alex at a comics press. David's summer school. Samuel's tour hit coasts. But home anchored. 4th of July barbecue. Flags waving ironic over grills. Fall. Northwestern beckoned. Move-in day. Dorm stark but buzzing. David helped unpack. Bed made with flannel sheets smelling of home. Call every night, he growled, kissing deep. Every hour, Alex teased. Parting ached, but texts bridged. Miss your chaos. Miss your calm. Midterms crushed, but David visited tailgates. Study breaks in his hotel. Bodies reuniting like puzzle pieces. Samuel zoomed advice. Balance scales. Kid. Love and law. Thanksgiving. Elena's table groaned. Turkey. Pernil. Pie. Javier carved. Stories spun. Marco's name surfaced once. Parole denied again. Good riddance, Elena declared. Holidays twinkled. Tree trimming with David. Ornaments from Samuel's travels. New Year's. Rooftop in Boys Town. Countdown to midnight kisses under fireworks. Sophomore year. Alex's novel published. Indie hit. Launches packed. David beamed at readings. Samuel blurbed. A testament to tender truths. Betrayal's final ghost. A letter from Marco. Via warden. Apology scrawled shaky. Saw your book. Proud. In my way. Forgive? Alex pondered. Then replied. Forgiveness is mine. But trust? Earned elsewhere. No response. Closure. Quiet. Senior year. Thesis on queer narratives in American lit. David proposed properly. Ring simple. Silver with engraving. Lightning and storm. Yes again. Tears and cheers. Graduation. Stadium roar. Elena. Javier. Samuel. David family forged. Wedding summer solstice. Backyard affair in Elena's yard strings lights. Marigolds. Vows handwritten. Samuel officiated. Voice thick. In this court of hearts, I pronounce you bound. Rings exchanged. Kiss ceiling. Dance floor under stars. David twirling Alex. Samuel with Elena. Javier grilling late-night tacos. Years blurred. Alex's graphic novels bestsellers. David tenured. Samuel advising from D.C. Consultancy. Kid arrived via surrogate Luca. Eyes like David's. Fire like Alex's. One night, tucking Luca in. Alex sketched bedside. Family portrait. Heroes all. Samuel visited. Book 2 in works. Your story's the heart, he said. David hugged him. Ours, too. Human end. Not fairy tale, but earned. Love's verdict. Guilty of joy. Sentenced to life. In quiet moments, Alex remembered the hook, that courtroom confession, the gavel's shock. Samuel's move? Not recusal, but revelation. A judge stripping bare, freeing them all. Echoed in every laugh, every touch. American Odyssey. Dramatic, emotional, romantic, human to the core.